Hey, good morning, Dave. It's great to see you.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. It's great to be seen by you.
Welcome to Building Builders podcast. We're super excited to have you on here. Dave, you're a serial entrepreneur that's founded, grown, and successfully sold several businesses over the years. Can you tell me a little bit about your background?
So, computer science degree from York, an MBA from Toronto. I out of business school, went to work for a great company at the time, Hewlett-Packard. It was the company you wanted to go to if you wanted to be in the product space, and helped them launch a couple of really successful products there. Met some guys who then started a company called Pickstream that helped telephone companies compete with cable companies to deliver TV services over the internet. Back when telephone companies weren't delivering TV services, but cable companies were starting to deliver phone services and high-speed internet. We built a very successful product in that space and were acquired by the granddaddy of all networking companies, Cisco Systems. And then after that, we decided to start another company called Sandvine, which again was a tech company that helped the large high-speed internet carriers around the world deliver the internet with very high quality. That company went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange, eventually exited to private equity. And now I'm here at Trusscore.
Dave, that resume is so impressive. Every time I hear that story, I'm just like so honored to be chatting with you. Thank you again.
Thank you. It's been fun.
So, Dave, any entrepreneur can tell you that founding a business is grueling and very rewarding. What motivates you to keep going?
In the early days, I would say when the guys and I decided to start Sandvine, we were pretty young. We had this great successful tech exit, and we thought, hey, we've got young children. We've got to be role models for them, and we have to show them that we get up every morning and go to work. And that was really the primary motivation for starting Sandvine. And we knew this great team that was available that we could put together. But back then we were young, we were way too young to retire. So let's just be great role models for our kids. But if I think back at my time at Sandvine and even here at Trusscore, that what's funner than working with a bunch of folks that you're inspired by and helping solve a real problem and build a successful business. And a much more successful entrepreneur than me, Sir Terry Matthews, said, hey, to be an entrepreneur, you got to like the good, the bad, the ugly. The good, you do that for free because it's just super fun. But when things get bad or ugly, it's where else would you rather be than trying to solve that problem and figure out how to work your way out of it, be at that table trying to solve that problem. And so I think you have to be motivated to want to get through the bad and the ugly times because it's incredibly rewarding when you solve those problems with your team.
Dave, I'm realizing I've never asked you that question before since I've never heard the answer. But, on a personal note, I find, I end up telling people this story a lot. If I ever take vacation or take a couple days off, my mind immediately goes to, what am I doing? And I got to start a business. And then the comment is, what could be more fun than starting a business? It's always the same thing. I'm not one to read a book on the beach. I would sit on the beach and start a business.
Yeah, I have a slightly different take on work-life balance. I think you can't be an entrepreneur and you can't be a CEO if you don't see it as it's more of intermixing of it. You have to, you could be on vacation and you should try to unplug. But if there's something the team really needs to talk to you about, or there's an opportunity that comes up that feels like, hey, this feels unique to this moment in time.
Yeah.
You have to figure out a way of balancing that. And so, And so, yeah, I'm not a good vacation taker, I must say, but and I try to enjoy it when I do, but I'm often thinking about the business.
Yeah, agreed. Always thinking about the business, and maybe just in a different location. But anyway, yeah, thanks. So Dave, you started your career in the technology sector. Obviously super successful in that space. Then you made a bit of a left turn into construction. How did you get involved with Trusscore? How did you know this business had potential and could benefit from your experience?
It really came honestly from a lifelong obsession of hating painted drywall. Back when I was 13, I had a best friend who was a drywaller because his father was a drywaller. And what do you do when you're 13? When your best friend has a job, you go hang out on their work site. And I was just amazed by the amount of waste. I'd say, hey, that piece could fit over there. And he'd say, it's not worth my time. Just seeing how dirty and dusty and how long it took. And something through moving and doing renovations, I was always looking for an alternative to painted drywall. I've put laminate flooring on a wall. I've got that 70s, what do you call those paneling.
Yeah.
I've put it on the ceiling. I've done all kinds of crazy things to avoid putting drywall in certain places. And finally, when the Sandvine adventure came towards an end, I thought, man, it doesn't look like in the past 30 or 40 years anyone else has done anything about this. I'm going to give it a try. And I put it out to the universe. And I was in a group called Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and I met my future partner, Joel Coops, who had a PVC extrusion business, and he was already doing a lot of the things that I thought needed to be in that drywall alternative space, and that's how we got together.
Oh, that's super interesting. I didn't realize that it was through a networking organization that you made that first connection. That's wow, that's great. So, Dave, the business went through a pretty dramatic transformation after you joined as CEO. It went from a traditional plastics manufacturer to a tech-driven, research-based material science company that Trusscore is today. What went into that transformation process?
It was really taking everything I'd learned in high-tech research and development, high-tech marketing. There's a business-to-business SaaS, software as a service, marketing handbook where you publish content every week, blogs, podcasts, you try to find influencers, you do marketing automation campaigns to everyone who's ever expressed interest in your product. And there was it's a tried and true way of selling stuff in tech, much like DOZR does on its marketplace.
Right.
And I thought there's lots of places, and particularly in building materials, where that's not being done or not being executed very well. And so the marketing transformation of creating branded preference and helping customers every step of the way and helping retailers every step of the way, building material retailers, that I thought could be applied there. And then on the R&D side, there's just so many exciting things happening in the material science realm, from nanomaterials to nanophotonics to electrochromics that are happening that I think could be applied to this space. And so building an R&D team, building a marketing team, those two things were the rocket fuel that got injected into what's become Trusscore.
Love that answer. Love the rocket fuel injection and also just, all the overlap. It gets me thinking about, that would have brought some change. And change management is one of the most difficult aspects of transformation, the transformation process. How do you get your team aligned and manage them through such a significant company change?
Well, there's a few things. There was a great team already here. and the marketing team was entirely new. The R&D team was entirely new. And so all they knew was Trusscore and the new vision of becoming a drywall alternative. And so I really learned this at Sandvine, that you could engineer a culture. And we had the Sandvine way at Sandvine, and at Trusscore we have the Trusscore way, and it's 8 tenets of our culture, if you will. You know, some really obvious ones are customers first. They can't be successful unless we're successful. We want every interaction that everybody has with us to be seen through the lens of their success, not our success. And that's something we do every single month. We go through our Trusscore way with all new folks and everybody whose birthday or anniversary is that month, to say, hey, there's a bunch of new folks here, but for folks who've been here, is this something we just talk about, or is it real? And then there's a tenet of risk taking, that 3 out of 4 is better than 2 out of 2, that we're all really paid to make decisions and execute on decisions, and let's over communicate those decisions that we're making. But you never set out to make a bad decision. The only reason you know it's a 3 out of 4, or that you made a bad decision, is because there's been new data that often points the way to what the right good decision. But when you're making 3 good decisions instead of 2, you never revisit those. You just keep on building on them over and over and over again. And so they provide goodness for free forever, or until the data tells you they're no longer a good decision. And so I think having a real dedication to the type of culture we're trying to create, the Trusscore way, and emphasizing it in every opportunity. And I tell you, it's important to have that meeting every single month with everybody in the organization. No one is unclear what the Trusscore way is at Trusscore.
Dave, I've heard you speak about the Trusscore way in the past, and I just absolutely love it. And I'll share with you, we've kind of shamelessly adopted that theory at DOZR, and we have the DOZR way. And we talk about it weekly. We bring it into all of our meetings, and we really truly live and breathe by the DOZR way. You know, some of our key things are building trust through transparency, and being authentic and sticking to our roots. And I can't thank you enough for bringing that over to DOZR. It really has changed everything. One thing that we've noticed with the DOZR way is it actually becomes this amazing sales tool. Have you ever seen it seep into sales? I was recently in a meeting, and with one of our with a director of sales, and meeting's going really, really well. We're talking about the DOZR way a little bit, and our director actually pulled open his phone and said, "Hey, this is the DOZR way." And when the customer on the other side is like, "Wow," it was just kind of like you guys aren't lying. This is real. You guys really, really are, good people and going to be a great company to work with. Yeah.
I mean, customers love seeing customer first as the first tenet of the Trusscore way. But, just yesterday, on our Trusscore way session, one of our new sales guys in Portland said, "Hey, I have to tell you, the Trusscore way is the reason I joined the company." That his manager pulled out the Trusscore way and said, "Hey, this is the type of culture we're trying to create." And he was leaning towards another building material manufacturer. And he said, "I just really liked the idea that we had articulated our culture, and this is what the standard we were going to hold ourselves to." So not only does it help in sales, but it really does help in recruiting.
Dave, a bit of a different direction, thinking about growth and growth strategies. There's kind of typical growth strategies that are applied to tech companies. Are there any of these that can be applied to contractors and using their businesses to grow?
For sure. I think the marketing handbook that we're executing here is just as relevant to a general contractor, to a developer, to anyone building a small business. That it doesn't take much effort to go on LinkedIn and connect with folks that you want to be connected with, as long as you're relevant to them and they are relevant to you. Everybody wants to expand their network. The idea of regularly communicating with them via social channels, via email campaigns, not email campaigns that just ask for the business, but you're creating value for them. You're giving them some insight. You're giving them a tip. You're pointing them in a direction. And if you could become a trusted advisor that, it really looks like you're just trying to provide me the best answer and the right answer, and you could do that very repetitively through developing of a sales tool or developing of a resource, a short form video that just answers a specific question. All the things in the high-tech marketing handbook are relevant to everyone. I was talking to, we had 30 contractors out on a plant tour last week, and one of them said something super insightful, that if you go on small jobs, if you quote high and fast, you win that business faster than if you bid low and slow. If when someone has a small job, like doing their garage in Trusscore, it's a very common job, happens hundreds of times every month. A lot of times contractors just don't get back to them. But if they have or they get back to them 4 or 6 weeks later, but if they could give them a quote inside of a day that is, budgetary and, a tinge on the high side, they're likely to just say, yep, go ahead, schedule it, and let's get it in there. And I suspect you saw something similar in your landscaping business. And so people, when they want to get a job done, they want to get it done for small jobs for sure. And price is often a secondary issue there.
Dave, when I started our landscape business, you kind of left an opening here for me, but it really resonates. When I started the landscape business, I got my first job, and then people would call me, and I get, go to the second, the third, and, started to grow in that first year. And we actually grew right through the 2008 recession. And, people often ask me, how did that happen? And, you're thinking back, it was a crazy time. And it was this odd phenomenon where all the other landscape construction contractors were looking for these projects that they thought would be like great portfolio, award-winning projects. They wanted to be doing the 100, the 200,000, landscape construction jobs. I was out there and people were calling me, and I was just treating them well. I'd show up to the meeting. I'd be kind. I'd listen to them. I'd give them some advice. And then I had a laptop and a printer in my truck. I was too busy. I didn't have the back office staff. So I say, hey, listen, I'm going to run out to the truck and I'm going to type up a quote for you. And I'd bring it back in, and they would sign every single time. I feel like the only miss there, so young and hadn't, had the learnings yet. I wasn't charging high prices. I probably could have charged a whole lot more, but I was giving a fair price and everyone signed. I had like 100% success rate.
I guarantee you it had everything to do with the fast part. If you're not leaving your truck until you give them a quote, I think that's unheard of. And I think that's incredible. It reminds me sort of how we first met. I had a young son, and he's an older son now, who showed some competency on a neighbor's skid steer. And I thought, I got some work I need done. And I thought, I found the DOZR marketplace, and I put a request in for a skid steer. And you called me back and said, we don't really deal with the DIYers. We deal with contractors. But you asked for the sale. You said, hey, can we go for a coffee or lunch sometime and talk about building businesses? And I could see it right then and there that, hey, you were calling to let me down, to say you won't let me use a skid steer, yet you still closed the deal, and we've become great friends since.
Yeah, there's no time to, just think about things and set it aside. You can't call tomorrow. You got to do it right now. Which kind of gets back to that beach conversation, though, by the way. So, Dave, I want to talk just a little more on R&D. You were talking about, you were kind of saying that the R&D, the material science component of your business really is the rocket fuel. Have you noticed anything? Is there anything that contractors can take from that? How can they bring R&D back to their businesses?
You're always going to have a bunch of different customers. Fun ones that are super cost conscious and want to do it the way it's always been done. But you're always going to run into, especially homeowners or developers, that you could tell they want to do something different, something innovative. And I think unless you're adding new products to your portfolio, doing things differently, it's going to be hard to win those customers who they just want their job to look a little bit different or a lot different than any other ones. And so, in the tech business, we call those early adopters. Whenever you talk about someone who's saying, hey, I want this to look different, that you should always have something in your back pocket to do it different and understand the value of doing things differently. And you know this from the construction industry. People often want to do things the same way they've always wanted to do them. Yep. And it's a double-edged sword in that it's tough to get them to try something new. But once they try something new and they see the benefit, well, that's the way they'll always do it in the future. And so I would just say always have a interesting secret surprise in your back pocket of, hey, or you could try doing it this way, or try doing it with this new material or this different approach. And early adopter customers who are generally a little bit less price sensitive are going to often say, oh, I really like that idea. Yeah, let's go with that.
I love that. That's great advice on the early adopters for sure. I want to switch gears and talk about, something that I think is kind of fun, but this idea of getting bought out by a bigger company, something that entrepreneurs strive for, dream of. I was lucky enough at Forrestal to, have an exit, albeit a whole lot smaller than some of yours, but your first business was acquired by Cisco for $369 million. Sandvine was also acquired for $440 million. Incredible numbers. Couple questions on this. How do you know, or how do you decide when it's the right time to sell your company?
Well, in both those cases, Pickstream and Sandvine, I think the secret was not to be for sale. To focus on being the leader in your business, Pickstream in video networking, Sandvine in delivering great quality of experience for people on the internet. And I think you will have a much more successful exit when your business is bought versus when it's sold and someone comes to buy it. And probably different lessons from each one. At Pickstream, we developed a great partnership with Cisco Systems and a bunch of other networking equipment companies. And so it was through that partnership where, hey, they started noticing when people buy Pickstream equipment, they buy a whole lot more Cisco networking equipment to go along with it. Because, we're up here delivering the TV signals through the network. Well, the network is much, much bigger. And, every modem, every router, every switch, all the way through there, they probably got $10 to $100 for every dollar that we got. But on every one of our projects, it was a super innovative early adopter telephone company looking to start delivering TV services. And the same is true with Sandvine, in that we were a publicly traded company. We were, grew the business to about 130 million US dollars. All the numbers we've been talking about here have been US dollars. And we became the clear number one player. And when private equity is looking to make acquisitions, they're looking for the top player in the space to, have a platform to build their companies around in that space, to be a clear leader. And so I guess the secret to selling your company is not selling it, trying to sell it, but trying to build the leader in the space.
Is there anything that companies should get? So although they shouldn't be selling, is there anything that they should be doing to get ready for sale, to be able to have that successful exit?
Obviously, no sale is going to go through without proper due diligence. And so the more organized you could have your business in terms of when someone asks a question, you could very easily provide that information. That's good. Know who your advisors or your partners are going to be in helping you sell. In large companies like Pickstream and Sandvine, these are going to be investment bankers that are going to do it. In smaller businesses, it might be some of the accounting firms, or it might even be a commercial real estate agent that could help you. I would say, make sure you're developing those partnerships and those relationships with folks that you think could really give you really great advice when you're going through that process. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time preparing to be sold, because that's going to be all crunch work that you're going to be working around the clock to get that when that time happens anyway. That time is better spent ahead of time just building a super successful business, and also partnering with the companies that you think might be good companies for you to acquire, or potentially for them to acquire you.
Yeah, great point. How about valuation? How do you know if you're getting a fair deal? I think everyone always wants a little bit more.
There's all kinds of, business metrics out there that will tell you relative to other transactions that have happened. But I think the honest answer is, when you do decide that you're going to sell your business, make sure there's more than one person at the party. You know what it's like when you're bidding business. If you think you're the only person bidding it, that price might be a little bit more fair than if you know three other people are bidding that business. And so I think the obvious answer is, make sure there's more than one other party at the party for when it's happening.
Dave, you've shared with me in the past that a deal's not done until the money's in the bank. It's raising money, selling a business is not for the faint of heart. Can you share with our listeners a little bit of what the journey's like in, getting one of these acquisitions across the finish line?
Oh, it always takes longer than you think. There's always going to be moments of frustration in due diligence on, hey, didn't we already give them that material? Or why do they want to see it this, fifth different way, or that sort of thing? And you have to keep your eye on the prize, and just know that anything could happen. Something could happen in the world that's going to tank your deal, or all of a sudden you could have a really bad month or quarter, and that might tank the deal. Or the company that's acquiring you might have a really bad month or quarter, and that might tank the deal. And so I always like to say, keep the ball in the other person's court. If you say you're going to get them something, don't go to bed that night until you've gotten them that something, because you give them a built-in excuse to delay for another day. Say, well, I'm still waiting for that thing you said you were going to give me. And so whenever you say you're going, you could get something, every acquirer is going to always say, yeah, I want that. And they will write it down. And you've just given them an excuse to delay the deal. And so it's super stressful. It takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more hours in the day. But keep the ball in their court and ask, do you have everything you need to make the decision? And I think that's one of the most powerful questions you could ask, because they're either going to tell you they need to do something on their end, or they're going to tell you that they need something from you to move forward. And you got to be listened very carefully. And if they need something from you, don't go to bed that night until you get it to them.
Such great advice, Dave. It's it's definitely a hurry up and wait game, and be prepared to make great decisions quickly. Hand them right back to those to the other party. I love that. Don't go to bed without giving the answer back. Put the ball back over it. Dave, this has been awesome. I have one last question for you. I've talked a lot about business advice. We always ask people what their favorite piece of construction equipment is.
Well, just because I have a competent operator, I have to say a skid steer with a track that you could go right over the grass without chewing it up. If I could get my hands on a skid steer with a track, I know my son would love operating it for me too, whenever I need to move a log across the yard.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely becoming the most a popular method. That's for sure. You're not sinking into the lawn. Dave, this has been great. Where can people find and connect with you? And, also, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, so always happy for connections on LinkedIn. It's the only social networking platform I'm on. The company is Trusscore.com. And if you have an unfinished garage out there, I would love for you to put Trusscore up on the wall. It's one of those things that we really see that when one goes in a neighborhood, another three follow. And so I'll just put that plug out there that, garage is something that people is a new living space that people could be super proud of in their house. And more and more often, Trusscore is part of that solution. So thanks for letting me on your podcast here, and thanks for letting me pump in that little commercial as well.
Dave, thanks for joining. And myself personally, I am such an incredible fan of Trusscore, the business, the product. I think everyone should use it, and they should definitely check it out when they get a chance. So, Dave, thanks again for joining Building Builders podcast today, and looking forward to talking again soon.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Ciao.